Back here inside DJ's Dugout in downtown Omaha, where the Aggies fans have headed over to Charles Schwab Field, and I would assume the Razorback fans will be showing up sometime in the next couple of hours to pregame, get it going for another round of Arkansas versus Ole Miss. Bill King joining us from Nashville Sports Radio. He is the king of college football talk, the prince of college baseball talk, and we appreciate his time. Bill, how you doing? We're having a lot of fun in Omaha. Have you been to the College World Series before?
Took our Sirius XM show there in 07. Did it 1 year. It was when Oregon State was winning back-to-back. And it was at the old Rosenblatt. They were not at TD Ameritrade / Charles Schwab at that point, but it was a good experience. I don't think I would want to do it again. I love watching it, but I don't plan on doing the show out there again.
What was that like? Because Rosenblatt was a completely different atmosphere than what you see downtown here. Because it's in that parking lot that's over by the zoo. It's on a hill. There's a neighborhood around you. I mean, it's the complete antithesis of what downtown Omaha is like. It had to be just a completely different atmosphere and probably a little bit crazy feeling.
It was strange because all those houses in that neighborhood, a lot of them had memorabilia tents in their yard. So you could go to just random people's yard, go in a tent, and buy Nike gear or whatever with your favorite school. And there must have been 50 like that, guys. I'm not kidding. Everywhere you could look, these houses, I guess, rented out their yard space to people in the corporate world who would set up these tents, and people were going in there buying stuff left and right.
And people and the smell of grilling meat all over the place, too, I would assume.
Terrific. Yep.
Yeah.
No doubt.
Was there any... Now you're the resident grill master. I mean, I'm assuming those in Omaha because we think of steaks in Omaha, right? So that must have been right down your alley.
Right. You know what? First of all, as you guys know, it's blazing hot there this time of year. I mean, it is like cooking. We did our show one day, guys, from the parking lot at the old Rosenblatt, which is like just putting yourself on top of a smoker at 600 degrees, right?
Wow.
And no, it was. Look, we had a blast. I didn't really have time to go out and enjoy anything, to go to restaurants or anything. And here's the other thing. If I'm supposed to be the brisket master, you're not going to let some city tell you how to do it. So, no, I didn't do any of that.
That's true. That's a good point. So Connor Noland joined a very impressive and exclusive list with his outstanding performance on Saturday against Stanford. He's only the fourth player ever to win a game as a college football quarterback and win a game in the College World Series as a pitcher. Todd Helton also did it. What do you remember about Helton? Because I know he didn't play all that long football for Tennessee, but he was there a couple years as a quarterback.
Yeah, he and his uncle, who was a football coach, would call me during recruiting to ask about the depth chart and all that kind of stuff. He was a big-time lefty quarterback, 6'3", about 200, incredible athlete, baseball player. And they got, first of all, the first game in, what would it have been, 94? They're playing UCLA. Tennessee's quarterback goes down. Senior quarterback, Jerry Colquitt, who had yet to start, just finally got his start, blew his knee on the first play of the first game. And then they went to Helton, and then they went to Peyton Manning, then they went to Brandon Stewart. It was crazy. They played 4 quarterbacks. Helton ended up starting that year against Mississippi State, hurt his leg, limped off the field, and you never saw him in a football game again.
Huh.
Smartly.
No kidding.
Yeah, I mean, that's
incredible play.
So you got to do. You can't risk it too much, can you, there, Bill? But
no.
one thing that that's kind of shocking to me, and I think to a lot of people around college football right now, especially if you look at what's going on the recruiting trail. What's going on with Louisville? How are they pulling off this stuff? They just picked up another 5-star commit. Like, what's in the water all of a sudden in Louisville? You know, we had the spat between Saban and Jimbo, and Saban saying that Jimbo's obviously paying players. Well, Louisville hasn't been that great of a program here of recency. So, I mean, how are they pulling it out?
Yeah, Satterfield's not new, so it's not like the new guys coming in and rallying troops or something. They got the number 1 running back in America, 5-star out of Texas, and there's no way they get that kid without name, image, likeness. I don't know if it's my old Kentucky home bourbon whiskey or if it's the pony money or what it is. There's plenty of money. There's lots of money this guy. And apparently I mean, there's nothing wrong with it these days, so they're taking advantage of it. No way they'd get that guy if we're not in this environment. No way he gets out of Texas.
Absolutely no way. And when it comes to stories, like this, and it isn't. Yeah. It is. You're right. It's not illegal. There's nothing wrong with it. But why does it still feel like that we still see a story like this and still feel like there's something wrong with it? I mean, how long until I think we as a collective just fully, accept it that this is the way of the world? Because I still see a story like that, number one running back commits to Louisville, and I'm thinking shady stuff, but it's not shady anymore.
We are programmed, our DNA, from day one to criticize teams that cheat or are rumored to cheat or get caught cheating. It's like a scarlet letter, right?
Yeah.
And that'd be like at some point in the movie, The Scarlet Letter, they say the A's okay on you. Don't worry about it. It takes a while to get over that, right? Somebody's walking down the road and they got an A on their head. You go, wait a minute. It feels dirty still, right? Yeah. And I'd say in a few years we'll all forget about it. We'll have to. We've got no choice.
But we'll remember that first year or two where it was the wild, wild west. And it feels like, I know the NCAA Transformation Committee has now recommended transfer windows for when players can leave their program. I think that's what it is. And it would be like a couple of weeks at the end of the regular season, a couple of weeks at the end of spring practice. So, I mean, right there is just a little bit, it's like the first real guide rail for at least how the transfer portal will operate, but it also plays right into Sam Pittman talked about this. I think a couple other coaches said, look, we need to have some definition as to when players can go into the portal so that we have some idea of how many players we're going to have on the team. I mean, it's pretty important, isn't it?
Something with that committee, that transformation committee, about perhaps floating an idea where it'd be a couple of weeks around recruiting, the two periods, or maybe one in the spring, because that's when your roster management is being juggled, right? Into the regular season, whatever the reason may be that a player wants to leave. That's kind of when you start wondering about your roster and the roster management and how you layer your classes. And now I don't know if they ever get that legislation through. I don't know about that, but that is an idea, yeah.
Mm-hmm. I kind of wonder if maybe, I mean, this is something that the coaches talk about, wanting windows for the transfer portal. They also talk about guidelines or guide rails or limitations of some sort to NIL. So it seems like once the coaches start talking about this kind of thing, then maybe the legislation gets moved forward sometimes. Do you think maybe there could be, because the coaches are asking for these things with NIL, that we could see some of these guidelines sometime soon, maybe a little later after they decide on the transfer portal, because we know the NCAA still moves slowly?
Well, if I'm a power broker, if I'm one of the true nuclear powers in college football, I don't want to change these rules. Mm-hmm. I'm plucking everybody clean, right? Exactly. I mean, Alabama is... This kid they got from Georgia Tech is way better than the running backs they had a year ago at Alabama. That's just one example. Jamison Williams coming over from Ohio State, looking like a superstar. I wouldn't be for it. Now, again, they may get outvoted, but if I'm Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State, hey, leave it exactly the way it is, because people are calling us up left and right. We're just choosing the superstar we want.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for them, the wheel ain't broken, so you definitely don't need to fix it. Bill, have you ever been to the Manning Passing Academy?
We were talking about that today. I have not. They had a list of a bunch of those quarterbacks that'll be there, and obviously you got all the Mannings. The granddad, Archie's the one that started it, and Cooper and Peyton and Eli are all involved, and you have obviously Arch Manning. I don't know who all is going to be there, but this one's going to be fun. If I was close to, what is it, Natchitoches, Louisiana? Mm-hmm. Well, wherever Nicholls State is. Yeah, wherever Nicholls State is. If I was within a couple hours driving distance, I'd go to.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like it's a fun event. I mean, have you ever talked to some of the quarterbacks who participated, and kind of what do you think it really means? Because I mean, it doesn't mean anything as far as draftability or right. He got invited to the Manning Paz Academy, he's going to be a superstar in college and then go on to a great NFL level. It doesn't mean that, but
right.
It says it means kind of like a cool check mark to kind of say that they were invited to be instructors and helpers at the passing academy?
Probably brand awareness, just adding to your brand, I would assume. I mean, some of these guys, Bryce Young doesn't need it, but C.J. Stroud doesn't need it, but Will Levis is going to be there. Some project is a first-rounder out of Kentucky. Hendon Hooker is going to be there. There's a really good list of quarterbacks that should be there, and I would just think it's a notoriety thing. I mean, it's a very popular, well-covered, publicized event, so I'd want to be there.
Our partners at BetOnline continue to be the #1 source for all your betting needs and sports info. Find all the latest sports developments, including updated odds on the NBA playoffs, fights, and even next season's futures. And don't forget that the MLB is back as well. Who are you picking to win the World Series? BetOnline is your continued source for all your sports wagering needs, including live betting and your favorite Vegas casino and poker games. It's super easy to get started, so head to the website today or use your mobile device to join and use our promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet online, where the game starts.